have you ever seen those you had one job memes? His first question would be, do you know what a meme is? Memes are just like creative little things on the internet, I guess, kids use these days. But basically, you had one job. For example, you had one job. You had one job. That job, create two straight lines. You nailed the first one. You didn't hit the second one. You had one job. You had one job. We're bottling Coke today. One job, and somehow the Pepsi gets in there and mixes that whole thing up. You had one job. This one. You had one job. Bread, like bun, meat, fish. I guess that's a fish patty, the square ones. Fish, cheese, bun. One job. Missed it. You had one job. One job. Whatever the person's name is, you had one job. We even made it simple. We did the stop sign first. It's written right there. All we need to do is take that, put it right here. You had one job. Almost. So close. You had one job. One job. We're making medals here. We need first place, second place, third place. Apparently, third place. One job. You had one thing to do. This morning, we're looking at our one job. We're looking at what is our one job. As a church, as a follower of Jesus, as we're here, what is our one job? Do you remember the days when, when you're younger, I can think of the days when I was in middle school, and life is the hardest it will ever be when you're in middle school. That is what you're thinking. It's awful. It's so hard. Everything we have to go through, this tests and the struggles and the friends and all this stuff. And we're like, once I get older, life is just going to be easier. And we get into high school, still thinking that same thing, still waiting for the day that life gets easier, and thinking it's only once I get a car, then I'm free and life will be easier and there won't be any troubles or struggles or anything. Once I get that car, then that is the point where life becomes easier. You get the car, breaks down week one, you realize it's not the car. You graduate, you get into college, and you're still in there. And all these moments, we continually are thinking, I'm waiting for the day that it's going to get easier. But it doesn't. Life just continues to go on. We continue to just be given more and more new jobs, new struggles. We're given different responsibilities. And it's tough. We start to face the hard conversations at work, the difficult times with our kids and hoping for the best for them and a plan for them, and they sometimes may go or do the opposite of what we would hope to see them do. Life just continually, for whatever reason, just seems to be tough. And it's in those moments that we start to then get this voice in our head that starts to, for whatever reason, pulls in and starts to tell us that we're doing a bad job. This voice starts to say, you're not making a difference. The things you're doing aren't working. You can't serve. You can't start doing that. You can't take that job on you because you're not qualified. The anxieties you have, you won't be able to do it. The pain you feel won't allow you to do it. These voices are in there, and these voices, I believe these voices are coming from our enemy. And because our enemy is trying to stop us from serving, the enemy is trying to stop us from doing and living the way that God would want us to live, which is serving, which is out there being faithful to Him by serving other people. So these voices come in there and they stop us from doing our one job. So what is our job? Well, thanks for joining us here this morning. It's great to have each of you here with me today, and those of you watching online. My name is Jeff. I'm the online and media pastor, so those are my peeps out there. So it's great to have you all here, and it is a treat to be with you all as well. And just one quick note too, you guys, be sure to keep saying hi so that I know who's joining us online. But we do have people who are joining us from across Canada. We have some in Niagara Falls, and we have some in the States, and people just chiming in. So thanks so much for joining us and making us your church, because you're not able to make it in person here. We're doing this talk today on serving. Last week in our Vision Sunday, Pastor Kevin looked at our 7 values that we hold to, and I want to look in deeper on one of those. I want us to look in on the serving over sitting, the valuing of serving over sitting, and see why it is. Like, why do we take that stand? Why do you want us to be serving over sitting? And this isn't something that just Pastor Kevin wrote down and made it up himself, saying, I think it'd be beneficial for people to be serving. No, I want us to look deep into this and see where that's coming from. You see, our job is to serve instead of sit. Matthew 23, it says, "The greatest among you will be your servant." Mark 10:45 says, "For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." Galatians 5:13 says, "But do not use your freedom to indulge in the flesh, rather serve one another humbly in love." Serve one another humbly in love. You see, serving is not just what we do for others. Serving is what we do for Jesus. We're serving him by serving others. He's asking us to serve others, serve one another humbly in love, and he was that example for us. He was the example that showed us how we need to serve. You see, we're called to be a servant of God. And it's from that calling that I believe that we need to be taking our next step in our spiritual journey and finding the ways that we can serve. Finding the creative ways that we can go out and not put spotlight on us, not make us look better, but to make him look better, to make him stand out, to point people to Jesus. He's asked us to serve him by serving others. And that is what our one job is: serve Jesus in everything that we do. Remove those voices that are telling you that you're not able, you're not good enough to serve yet, you're not good enough to be doing those things. You're not gifted in that way. Remove these voices that are keeping you back from, this isn't the right season, or this is not the right time, I'm too busy, whatever it may be. Serve Jesus by serving others. It's realizing what Pastor Kevin shared last week, that you were created by God's handiwork to do good works. You were created by a perfect God who created you to do good works. And this is what I want us to realize here today, that we have such an important role to play as followers of him, and an important role to play as the church. Because your part, your role, your one job isn't just to be here on a Sunday, although that's the great first step. That's what we know. We need to be here on Sunday. But then the next step is finding your place in serving in the church, serving in the body. And what I want us to see here and recognize, and we're going to look at this a little deeper, is that God's gifted you in different ways. He's created you to be able to do different things. And it's those things, not just a singer on stage, a speaker standing here, not just these different positions that we normally see or realize, like when we've talked to in my past, when I've talked to some volunteers or some people interested in serving, it's like, oh, I'd love to get you involved. It's so important to be serving and being a part and serving others, serving God through serving others. Well, Jeff, I don't sing. Okay, I don't preach either. Okay, I want you to see there's so much more, and there's so many more things that you can do, and that's what I want us to look at here this morning. So we're going to turn to 1 Corinthians 12, where Paul is talking to the church here and talking about what the church really looks like. 1 Corinthians 12. It says, "Even so, the body is not made up of one part, but many. Now if the foot should say, 'Because I'm not a hand, I do not belong to the body,' it would not, for that reason, stop being a part of the body. And if the ears should say, 'Because I am not an eye, I do not belong to the body,' it would not, for that reason, stop being a part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? But in fact, God has placed the parts in the body, every one of them, just as He wanted them to be. If they were all one part, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, but only one body. The eye can't say to the hand, 'I don't need you,' and the head can't say to the feet, 'I don't need you.' On the contrary, those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable, and the parts that we think are less honorable we treat with special honor, and the parts that are unpresentable are treated with special modesty. While our presentable parts need no special treatment, but God has put the body together, giving greater honor to the parts that lacked it, so that there should be no division in the body, but that its parts should have equal concern for each other. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part rejoices with it. Now you are the body of Christ, and each one of you is a part of it." Now you are the body of Christ, and each one is a part of it. Now our job is to find, what is your job? What is your role? What is your part in this body? There's three things here. There's so much that we can take and dig out from this. But three things that stand out to me most. The first one is sometimes we get caught up comparing ourselves to the other parts of the body. Okay, I'm the foot. I'm no hand or no head or eye. Like, all I am is the foot. We start comparing. I'm just the hand. I wish I was the shoulder. I wish I was the knee. Whatever it is, we start comparing ourselves because we see value in other parts, and we see things, and we're like, oh, I wish I could do that. And we start feeling like, oh, why didn't God gift me this way? Why am I not able to do those things? That brings me to the second part that is so important out of this passage. Is we can't be comparing ourselves to the other parts of the body because each part of the body is so important. In verse 18, God doesn't make mistakes. God doesn't make mistakes. He's gifted you the way He needed to gift you for the part of the body. And you, in that part of the body, has an important role to play as a part of that body. God doesn't make mistakes. God places the parts just as He wanted them to be. Are you doubting you can serve? Are you doubting you have a part? Are you feeling I'm just not qualified enough, or this just isn't the right season, or this just is I just don't have the right gifts to bring? God doesn't make mistakes. God has placed the parts of the body in the plan that He has, and it's His perfect plan. God has a plan for you as a part of the body. Now it's just finding out, what is that part? What is that part that you can do? That brings us to the third part of this passage. There's no small parts. There's no small parts. We can't be looking as the foot, looking at the head and saying, well, it's just, the head is the best part. Like, I'm just the foot. We can't be doing those things. There's no small part. Each part is so important in what we're doing. And what we're doing is serving people, and serving Jesus by serving people. There's no small part. You have a part in this body. And your one job is just finding, how can I serve God through serving people? How can I serve God through serving people? And what is it that I can do? There's stories after stories, encounters after encounters through Scripture of the ways that God used people, both in large roles, in big things, and in small roles, that still did big things. You have Rahab in the Rope. Rahab in the Rope. Rahab was living in the city of Jericho. And she was there and living in the city of Jericho here, and she knew the Israelites were coming. The Israelites were coming, and they're on a pretty good win streak here. And she realized what the reason is that the Israelites were able to go and conquer these lands and these cities. She recognized who God was, and that God was leading these people, and God was giving victory to these people. A couple spies came into Jericho, and she ended up hiding them in her place. She protected them. And then when the coast was clear, she used a rope. Simple action. She chose to do something big and protect these spies. Lowered them out of her window, let them on their way, and she was able to protect herself and her entire family because of what that rope and that action that she did. You have the boy and his lunch. The boy and his lunch. Jesus was out and doing a bunch of ministry, and he came to this one place and thousands of people around him. He's healing people and helping people, serving people. Again, he was a pretty good example of this. He's serving people. He was helping them. A big crowd builds. Now it says there's 5,000 men there, along with their wives and their kids. It's a lot of people. The day was getting long, and the disciples were like, Jesus, we got to wrap this up. It's getting almost dinner time. We don't want to get stuck having to feed these people, so let's wrap it up and send them on their way so then we don't have to feed them, right? It's kind of like probably why we try and get you guys out of here by 12, so I don't get stuck buying you all lunch, right? Jesus was like, no, we're good. We're good. Let's find some food. It's only 5,000 people and their wives and kids. What do we got? Did anybody bring anything? And they have this boy. And one small act of service allows God to do something big. Brings a couple loaves of bread and some fish and says, this is all we have. You want to feed everyone? Jesus is like, yeah, I do. So he goes and he takes this small action that this boy does, his act of service, where he goes and he presents this meal. And Jesus is able to do something incredible with it. He's able to take that food, feed everybody that's there, feed all the people that are there, and still send this boy with baskets of food left over. It's obviously a miracle of God doing this, and something that even as I'm reading through, it's just like I get it's a miracle, but how does that work? It works. It's just how Jesus works, and he's able to do something huge through one small act of service. One small act of a boy with his lunch. He was able to do something big. You have Esther in the dinner. Esther was placed into an important role as queen, and she was able to use her role and make a decision to help her people, to protect her people. She had a big choice to make. I spoke about this a while ago. And she had a big choice to make, and she made that choice to protect her people. So she used her circumstances where she was to be able to serve. Jesus with a towel. Jesus with a towel. As I've already mentioned, Jesus was our perfect example of how we serve. And in this story here, Jesus is there with his disciples, the Feast of the Passover, and they've all come together to have this meal. And what he does then is they're standing there. He grabs a towel, a basin of water, and he goes and he washes their feet. Something incredible, like not heard of one bit, is the host going and washing the feet of these people. Not a job of, that would be a job of the servant. That would be a job of someone that would work there. He does it. He goes and he serves them in this way. And this is what he says. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. This is the example I've set to you as they're questioning, like, why are you doing this? And he's washing their feet, knowing who it is that he's washing the feet of. A betrayer, a denier, washing their feet. And he does it so that he could set an example, so that they would go and do as I have done. They would go serve, and they'd serve him by serving people. They would serve him by serving people. Jesus was our ultimate example of a servant, washing the feet of those guys. And God has placed you where you are as an important part of the body, with an important job. And it's to serve people around you. Not to bring you any kind of glory, not to bring you any kind of spotlight, but simply to point people to Jesus. It's important for us to find what our job is. What is our role in this? How can I go and do something big through maybe something small? And it's important to realize that it's not always the way that we think it might be. Sometimes as I was saying earlier, sometimes there's only 3 jobs that we can think of. But there's so many things that we can be doing. So many ways that we can be using our gifts to be serving people, to be loving them. But you have to realize and ask yourself, what is your one job? What is my one job? What is it that I can do to show people the love of God? Because God has a plan for you. He is an important part, as an important part of the body. There's a guy I was able to meet and hear from, and his name was Matt. Matt wasn't a good speaker. Matt wasn't a musician. Matt wasn't able to do those kind of typical things that people seem to think of, but Matt was gifted in photography. He could take pictures, and he could edit them. And from that, he was able to create and start up a really cool ministry to families that were hurting. And I want to show you this video that he put together just explaining what his ministry is. It's not in the church. He just started something to be able to point people to Jesus, just be able to serve them in some really cool way. We're going to watch that now. see Matt use something that God gifted him with. Just being able to take some pictures and be able to just bless these families in a way. I can't imagine having to go through what those families are going through. And when I heard his story of him being able to do this, it just broke my heart. And seeing that man just breaking down there, to be able to bless these families in this way is an incredible thing. And it gets me thinking and wondering, what is it that we can be doing? What is it that I can be doing? What is my one job? And it's to serve Jesus through serving people. How can I serve people? What is it that I can be doing? What is my part of the body? What is my role? How can I be going and blessing families like that? Because in Matthew 25, Jesus says, "For when I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me." And they ask him, "We didn't do any of that. Each time you did it for that person that you did it for, you were doing it for me." Each time we're serving someone, we're serving him. So what is it that we can be doing? How can we be serving? That's why that matters. So when we're serving people, we're serving Jesus. When we're serving people, we're serving Jesus. Our one job is to serve over sitting. It's a great step to be sitting and to be joining the church and being a part of it, but then really take that next step and be a part of it. Find your role as the body. Take that step on how can you get involved? What is it you're able to do? How can you bless families like Matt did? There's so many different things we can do. Maybe you can cook, sew, clean, decorate, build, paint, direct, talk, sing, run, type, walk, smile, shovel, greet. It's time to start serving over sitting. It's time to start serving over sitting and finding different things that you're able to use in order to serve Him. There's some great people already that are serving over sitting at the Point Church. We have Anne from our Bathurst site attending the NBCC campus here. She's doing her studies. And while she's doing her studies, she's leading a high school small group for girls Tuesday nights. On top of that, she's serving in her Bathurst site worship band every other week. She's in Chatham the weeks after, in between, singing there, using a gift that God gave her. She's also helping them launch their 180 Bathurst up there as well. She doesn't know I'm mentioning her name here, but she does she just does this because she's serving people, and through that she's serving Jesus. She recognizes that, just wants to use her gifts however she can. We have Nicole, Dr. David, and Lynn, who serve seniors on the third Sunday every month with their team and serve an amazing meal to our R&R crew. We have Ray Sobey, who would come after a 12-hour day of hard work and build us a random 3 orange chairs with a team of people. Margot works a ton behind the scenes here, spends dozens of hours each week looking after our finances. Is here as a volunteer. Sue orchestrates a meal each month for a soup kitchen ministry called Caring Friends Supper. There's a need, and she was able to help with that. Carrie Lynn is there overseeing our parking lot teams and a lot of the frontline ministries and a lot of other behind-the-scene work. Again, not to bring any glory to herself, but just pointing people to Jesus and serving Jesus through serving people. Daryl and Darlene are heading up our deacons ministry and serving a pile of people. And on their team is Bert and Jennifer, who single-handedly helped an elderly lady move from her apartment into a retirement home, care home. And they went as far as helping her sell furniture on her behalf on Kijiji and physically move the woman and all her belongings and helped her out that way. Ash each week is here early, setting up all the tech stuff here and helping us do this live stream and everything you see here. And I spent countless hours, even for Christmas production, and learning and programming, all the lighting on the stage and all that, along with much more. Gary goes and visits sick people. Goes and visits sick people just to be there, to serve, and to show love. Serving people and serving Jesus. There's so many more stories each week. There's so many more in here. I could just look and tell and share what each of you are doing, which is awesome. And I would just want us to see that there's an important role to be played, and you have an important part in the body, and that God has gifted you in a way that needs to be used to serve people, ultimately so that we can serve Jesus and to do something that he has done for us. He was our example while he was here. He was our example while he took my place on that cross, died for me so I could have a relationship with him. That's why I do what I do. That's where I found my one job, is recognizing what he's done for me and just trying to follow suit. There is a way that you can serve. There is a way that you can be a part of the body because you do have that role. God didn't make a mistake. God has gifted you the way he's gifted you so that you can do something great for him. So take that next step. I want to help you take that next step. If you're ready to take that step, I'd love to encourage you to just on that grip and rip that I said that I know each one of you filled out and you're going to put it there. If you're interested in taking that step, maybe you're probably already serving and you just want to take another further step. What else can I do? I have more gifts and more talents. Just write serve on that grip and rip and let us know that you're ready to do something. You're ready to take that step and to serve Jesus through serving people. Just going to close in prayer. God, just thank you. I thank you for all you've done for me in my own life. Thank you for allowing me to see what my job is, which is to serve you through serving people, God. God, I pray that we would each understand and recognize, God, that we have an important role in this body. God, I see that every single person in this room has a role in our body, and I'd love for you to be able to help them see what that part is for them, what their one job is. God, help us to understand these things. Thank you so much that we can be here, God, serving you. I pray everything that we do is honoring to you. Amen.